Okay, we have two land use hearings this afternoon, and we'll start with the first one. I'll call it to order. And read the opening statement. Good afternoon. My name is David Sykes, Chair of the Morrow County Board of Commissioners. I will be presiding over the hearing today. Co-adoption, the hearing is for the co-adoption of the City of Boardman Transportation System Plan, TSP, ATSP 62 26. The application is to co-adopt the Boardman TSP to apply to lands within the urban growth boundary. Criteria for approval include Morrow County zoning ordinance, MCZO, Article 8 amendments. Persons who wish to provide testimony may do so orally or in writing. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue includes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Please sign the sheet in the back of the room and make a note in chat if you are participating via Zoom. If you would like to present testimony, please speak only when identified by the chair and begin by giving your name, the spelling of your name, and your address. If you have exhibits for other considerations, please provide a copy to the staff. If you would like to request that the board hold open the record or continue the hearing, you must make that request before the public portion of the hearing is closed. And there will be a limit on testimony. It is 5 minutes, and Matt has a timer that you'll be able to see. So all those speaking will have up to 5 minutes. So that concludes the introduction. And so I'll start with, do any of the commission members wish to abstain, declare a conflict of interest or bias, or have any ex parte contact?
No.
Okay. Members of the audience, does any person in the audience wish to request that a member of the commission abstain or declare a conflict of interest or bias or disclose ex parte contact with a member of the commission?
You got a hand raised online.
Oh, okay. Who is that?
Do you require they identify themselves?
Yeah, could you identify yourself, please?
It's to be a real.
Yes, I'm coming into the meeting right now.
Okay.
What was that?
It's coming into the meeting right now.
Okay.
Don's coming in.
I was on me.
Hey. How you doing, Jonathan?
Good.
Good. Okay, we'll start off. We just had the introduction. Now we're going to start with the staff report from Tamara.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair Sykes. For the record, my name is Tamara Mabott, the County Planning Director. And the first hearing today is, as Chair Sykes said, to co-adopt the City of Boardman Transportation System Plan. This is a really routine legislative action on the part of the county at the request of the city. Per the joint management agreement, the county issues development permits and does planning, land partition, and subdivision review on parcels inside the urban growth area. So by co-adopting the city's standards, et cetera, we would use as the guiding document for our reviews of property. Let's see. There were a few items that were submitted after the packets were sent out to the board. And the board has this exhibit list in front of you. And anybody in the audience who wants to see the exhibit list, it's kind of a pink color. There's extra copies up there. So I'll just list these and then ask you to enter those into the record if you're so inclined. The first exhibit is 7 pages, and it's email correspondence dated February 16th from Jonathan Tolman. The second exhibit is another email dated February 17th with 5 attachments from Jonathan Tolman, some pictures, an appellant brief, some other information. And the third item was submitted just today. It's an email from Jonathan Tolman. So a total of 3 exhibits, if you wouldn't mind entering those into the record.
I move
Oh.
to,
Is that what we need?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
I move to enter the exhibits as presented. Second.
Then move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carried.
Thank you. While I'm talking, Stephen Resick, our GIS analyst, will pull up the county's interactive map. Just so that the board and the audience can see that the county's co-adoption of this applies only to lands that are inside the urban growth area. And of course, the city followed a very robust process over a year and a half with their consultant Kittleson and Associates. They're very accomplished transportation planners. At one point last summer, they invited the county to participate in a presentation and a city discussion with Kittleson about their transportation system plan. At the most recent planning commission meeting, first time in my career, planning commission did not take final action on this. Normally, a legislative action is a recommendation from the planning commission to the board of commissioners. My opinion is there was some confusion about items in the record that may or may not be relevant. And the reason for Stephen illustrating the map is those light colored areas are the urban growth area. And that's the area that the county's co-adoption would apply to. Again, most of it's inside the city limits. So when we're looking at subdivisions or land use permits, we would rely on the city standards, et cetera. At one point, prior to the planning commission meeting, Michaela asked Mr. Tallman to confirm to make sure that everything he had submitted was in the attachment, and he did confirm. Yesterday, Mr. Tallman was in the office and implied there were some items missing. I don't know what those are. You have hundreds of pages in front of you, and then you just added to the record these other items. Again, the planning commission did not make a recommendation, and so it's not a requisite. It's a little unusual, but so it's up to the board whether or not to adopt. It's a co-adopt of the city's transportation plan. They've completed their process. Once ours is adopted, then they're finished with their grant project. I don't think I need to go into any detail about the plan. The city's here if they want to do that. You have a copy of the entire transportation system plan in your packet. It's a really nice plan. I think they did a very good job and their consultant. So, and ours is up next after that.
Okay. Any questions of staff, Lieutenant? Okay. Okay.
I have one additional item, just if I may, before you ask me comments. Stephen, could you pull up that proximity map, please? During the county process and at the planning commission meeting, Jonathan Tallman was here and questioned whether or not he has whether or not this would affect his property. And the map that's in front of you shows up on the north, the route of, oh. Yeah, that's right. That's the Heritage Trail discussion. So Mr. Tallman's property is located in the city limits. But again, the Heritage Trail is not located in close proximity. And this action, the co-adoption of the transportation plan, really doesn't affect the Heritage Trail, but we wanted to share this with you so you have some context for the city's TSP. Anyway, thank you for that. That's all. Thank you, Stephen.
Any other questions? Any questions, Turner? Okay. So we'll start off with, we'll invite the applicants to provide, we'll start with the applicant, to provide testimony and evidence. And I'll repeat what we said earlier. There's a 5-minute limit on testimony.
Is that applying to applicants as well?
Yeah, everybody.
Staff.
Usually not the applicant, if that's okay.
What's
Because
that?
usually not the applicant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so resend that,
Not the applicant, okay.
not the applicant. Okay. Yeah, I thought that sounded a little short for that. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know that we'll need much more than 5 minutes, but I just wanted to.
Yeah,
make
no,
sure
no,
we were
yeah,
gonna
you're
be
right, Carla.
Constrained.
Okay, sorry.
As the applicant, thank you. So Carla McLean, Boardman's planning official, I never remember the city's address, 200 City Center Circle, Boardman, Oregon, 97818. I think I got that right. 4 years, I can't get it in my head.
Brandon Hammond, city manager.
Same address. Good afternoon, Chair Sykes, members of the board. Thank you for taking this time. The city started 2 years ago or better, having the conversation about updating a number of our planning documents, the TSP being one of them. We had applied previously and were unsuccessful for a TGM grant. We're encouraged to apply again. We did. We were successful the second time. So this is a TGM funded project. The grant has closed, but there is still a requirement that we achieve co-adoption. So what exactly are we asking for? It's really just that the county adopt the city's TSP so that it be applicable in the urban growth area or between the city limit line and that urban growth boundary line. As the map reflected, it's not a lot of space, but it's important space. We're asking you to do that for a couple of reasons. The joint management agreement applies your documents within the urban growth area. And in order for the city to reasonably grow and be able to meet the needs of growth, we would like the city's TSP to be applicable within that urban growth area. And for that to happen, co-adoption is a requirement in order for that to be applied. The joint management agreement that's between the city and the county is applicable to some degree in this respect. But that joint management agreement does say that your documents are applicable. And so in order to have ours applicable, the co-adoption is the necessary step. The city has accomplished our process. We did adopt on December 18th. The city council adopted. And we are now in the process of waiting for your guys's action on this. The applicable criteria are really found as your planning director indicated within your zoning ordinance in section 8.040. It's got four A, B, C, and D that are applicable. A talks about local conditions, what local conditions have changed and why would that warrant a change in the zoning of the subject properties. We're not asking for a change of zoning. We believe that first criteria is not applicable to your action. The second item talks about public services and facilities and whether or not they're sufficient to support, again, a change in designation. And again, we're not asking for an amendment to a zoning map. We're asking for co-adoption. We don't believe that the Boardman, your co-adoption of the Boardman TSP, it's not an amendment to your zoning ordinance or map, and it won't have the effect of rezoning any property. The second part of that regulation, we find kind of the same thing. It's not an amendment to your county zoning ordinance or map, and it would not have the effect of rezoning any particular property. Item C talks about whether or not the proposed amendment is consistent with unamended portions of the comprehensive plan and whether it supports the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan, and if there's a public need for the proposal. It goes on and has a few other requirements. Again, the proposed transportation system plan amendment does address a public need. Specifically, it helps to address transit needs for members of the public in Morrow County, whether that transit be a bus, a car, a truck, a trailer, whatever it may be. The Boardman TSP is consistent with the Boardman comprehensive plan and with new policies that have been identified for adoption by the city in early 2026. It is also consistent with the Morrow County comprehensive plan as it applies to the Boardman urban growth area. Again, the request does not include a change in use, making the second half of this particular criteria not applicable. And the last item in your zoning ordinance asks if the request addresses issues concerned with public health and welfare, if any. And I think that we would argue that the TSP addresses a number of safety concerns and proposes both bicycle and pedestrian projects, all of which could be identified as addressing public health and welfare. Also applicable to the decision are 3 statewide planning goals specifically. Planning goal 1, which is citizen involvement, and the city of Boardman. We had a pretty robust public engagement process. We appointed a public advisory committee. They met 3 or 4 times. All of that information is available on the city's website. We had an open house, which was well attended. It was actually a collaborative, unintended, but well pulled off. Collaborative with our Parks Master Plan. We had people come through City Hall and they could participate in both open houses at the same time. There was also a joint city-county, both planning commissions, both elected bodies, joint work session in August, if I recall correctly. And then again, we followed our public hearings process for adoption, which included both a planning commission and a city council hearing. And you are doing the same for your process, which I think fully and then completely meets our goal 1 requirements under the law. Goal 2 is also applicable. Goal 2 is the how do we plan goal. It just kind of defines how we do what we do. And when I say we, it's kind of the things us planners do, but you do as an elected body by adopting recommendations and such things. And again, I think we have shown that we have met those requirements within the document. And then the last goal that's applicable is goal 12, which is the transportation goal. We're required under the law of the state of Oregon to have a transportation system plan. Boardman's current previous transportation system plan was adopted in 1999 with some amendments in 2001. It was woefully out of date. And it is not, it doesn't have the capacity to address the growth that we've been experiencing over the past probably 5 to 8 years, which has been fairly unprecedented. It's designed to help us meet the growth needs for the next 20 years, although we fully anticipate that we're probably 5 to 7 years out before we have to update, again, because of the growth that's happening in Boardman. So as much as it's supposed to be a 20-year planning document, we fully understand that the projects in it and just the ability of the fact that it addresses just the city and the urban growth boundary. We know we're going to be experiencing our potential urban growth boundary expansions over the next probably 3 to 7 years. So as that happens, we're going to need to update these additional planning documents to help address those issues. I think that summarizes all I have to share. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of us as the applicant. Mr. Hammond, do you want to speak?
No, I mean, just being new to the process, and having gone over this for the last, 2 years, it's just been really eye-opening, and I think there has, as we've seen, there's been so much outreach. And there's also been a little confusion because it's new. The last time we adopted this was 20 years ago.
Over 20.
So
Almost 25.
I think it gets a little confusing where people are like, well, what is this? I haven't seen this before. What are you guys trying to pass? And it really isn't. This is a very common transportation system plan. It is just as simplistic as you can possibly imagine. And the opportunities for people to give input has been constant throughout. The planning commission was given an opportunity, you guys were given an opportunity. And I mean, being a non-government person, I'm an educator. Yeah, I love it. I love the process that you guys, like, if someone has a disagreement, great, go share your disagreement. If someone doesn't understand it, great, share what you don't understand. That's what the whole public hearing is for. So I've appreciated the process.
Does anyone have any questions of the applicants?
I've got one. What happens if we don't co-adopt? What would be the functional outcome if we chose not to?
Unprecedented.
Yeah. Well, I think there's I don't know that I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to provide you a legal response to that. And maybe it requires one. I think functionally, and you did use that term.
Yeah.
It means that you continue to apply your TSP to the area that has been identified for our road. And I think the benefit of applying our TSP to that is we've identified where we think future roads should be. We've identified what functional classifications need to become.
The plans wouldn't match up and it would.
They would
probably
not
be
match up.
Very well done if we didn't.
Right. There would be a disconnect between what we want to achieve and what your plan says you have to do.
Yeah.
We're asking you to please do what we want you to do in this situation. Yeah.
Could also impact potential grant opportunities. We see conflicts
Mhm.
between
Yeah.
the two.
Right.
If one entity is supplying and could have some disruption.
Sure. I'll take a stab at responding, and unfortunately, Dan Kearns, our land use council's out of the country. But we've had a little bit of internal discussion. This is the way I think Carla and I have both done co-adoptions for years, and I know lots of other rural counties have as well. But if you didn't adopt it, I think technically we would apply it because the city's plans and codes are referenced in our joint management agreement. I like this process, not just because we've done it this way, but it's also more transparent to the public and to anyone who has an interest. So because of that joint management agreement, we'd followed also. Our Dan Kern said, why are you doing this? Because it already is referenced in the joint management agreement, and that includes amendments to those plans and codes since it was originally adopted in 1997. Again, I think it's good for transparency reasons to do the co-adoption.
Okay. Is that it? Anything
That
else?
was my.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And we reserve our right to rebuttal if we need to.
All right. Okay, next up, we'll take public testimony from proponents. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor of this? And once again, I'll give the proponents, opponents, and neutral speakers. There's a 5-minute limit on your testimony. And Matt, there it is right there. Okay. Is there?
Anybody online who wants to?
Oh,
speak
yeah,
in
that's
favor?
right. Yeah, is there anybody on Zoom that is a proponent of this action? You see anybody?
No.
No, raise your hand. Okay. Next we'll go to the opponents. Is there any opponents that want to testify? Go ahead. And remember to give your name, spell your last names. For the record. An address, yes, I'm sorry.
Chair, would it be okay if I started the timer after they give that required information?
Yeah. You can start talking.
Good evening, good afternoon. And the statement is for the record. My name is Cheryl Tallman, CHERYL TALLMAN. And I live in Boardman. Do you want my address? 706 Southwest Mount Hood Avenue, Boardman, Oregon. I'm the owner of the Farmers Cup on Laurel Lane, and I am here this afternoon representing my business, the Farmers Cup, and my family. Terry and I came to Boardman in 1978. Terry served this community as mayor and county judge / county commissioner. For 48 years, our family has invested in this community, not just financially, but personally, faithfully, and publicly. I am here to respectfully ask the county to do the right thing. Please hold the record open under a 777 process. 7 days to review, 7 days to respond, 7 days to ensure the public record is complete. This is not a delay tactic. This is not obstruction. This is about fairness and transparency. There are complex planning documents involved. The transportation system plan, the corridor alignments, easement impacts, property implications and correspondence that has only recently been refined and submitted. There are factual issues that deserve careful review, not rushed decisions. When government decisions directly affect private property, infrastructure corridors, and longstanding businesses, the record must be complete, it must be accurate, and it must reflect all relevant facts, not just those convenient to timing or contracts. A contract deadline should never outweigh the due process. We are not asking for special treatment, we are asking for equal treatment. I'm asking for the opportunity to ensure that all submitted materials are properly entered into the record. All responses are fully reviewed and all impacts, especially to existing property owners, as evaluated transparently. Boardman deserves planning done right the first time. Rushing a decision does not make it stronger. Careful review does. Our family has always acted in good faith toward this community. We are asking the county to match that good faith tonight. Please hold the record open. Please review all the facts. Please ensure this process reflects the integrity that public service demands. Submit this as Cheryl Palmer.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Is there any other opponents that want to speak?
Now, I wasn't here and I didn't hear about Jeff, and when we did last time, Tamara, the meeting for like Norma, when there was conflicts, she wasn't able to sit, she was able to sit in the audience. So what was discussed as far as the conflicts?
Is if the board members had any conflicts they want to announce, or anyone from the audience wanted to request that a board member declare a conflict.
Yeah, and I raised my hand.
Okay, oh, you do want to?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
So this is my file, okay? I'm also holding this for the Heritage Trail as well too, for Jeff Winholtz, okay? And this is very complicated to explain. It has to do with all the corridor issue of the utility infrastructure. And I'm asking for him to, and I can show this, but it's gonna show, I have to go down the line and show the actual conflict, not the procedural or what's the other word for it? Conflict or.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
The decision to declare a conflict is the board member, not the whole. Group.
Yes, but I want to show the record as far as I'm in active litigation with 1 John
I
2.
understand that, Jonathan, but you request that a board member recuses or declares a conflict, then
Yeah.
that board member is the one that decides. So everybody else doesn't have to see all the evidence. So if you'll just declare what you think is his conflict and he can respond.
So it's all in this file. I have active litigation. He is a fiduciary responsibility with UEC, and that conflicts with my corporation and my land that I own that's going to be affected by the inverse eminent domain of this property. So all this, and this will also be an issue with the Heritage Trail as well too, of how it fits inside. So I want all this attached to the record. Now, keep in mind, there's one thing I want to say. When I go and I put stuff on the record online, it changes digitally from the written record to the formal. So when I do this and make copies, I want to be right there and certify each one of the copies, because I can show, which I'm going to show, which my attachments, that the record is changing right before our eyes from the digital context to the written
Well, you're getting a
confirmation.
little off course now.
Well, but no, it's the same course, because this is very important for the written documentation of what's being shown.
That's to be taken up with staff and so forth. You need to.
I have taken up with staff.
Well, I know, but it's not part of your, are you asking him, are you saying he has a conflict of interest?
There is a conflict.
Okay, now he has to respond to that.
The transportation system plan only addresses planning of the city. Of it doesn't affect me in any capacity, financial means.
You're a UEC board member with a UEC fiduciary responsibility to UEC, and we're in active litigation with your
Okay.
company.
It has
Okay,
nothing to do with the transportation system.
It has
You
everything.
can request it and he'll decide.
Okay, and I can
We're
show,
not gonna get into a big argument about it. Do you want to recuse yourself?
No.
Okay, all right, then we'll move on. We covered that. So now you have a chance to give your testimony in opposition, and you have 5 minutes and the clock is.
Okay, no, hold on. I want to make sure that all this stuff is added to the record, but also the heritage part of the record as well too, because it coincides with it due to the segmentation and fragmentation of the TSP corridor. It does not align with the goal 2 compliance or the goal 1 compliance of transparency with what I'm adding and due to the changes. And I want to show you something specifically, okay? When we go to the documentation, this was never in the city parks and master plan before the city PMP. And now it's automatically changed and now it's conceptually over my property. So this was changed after the fact.
Okay, but I'm gonna tell you, you're getting off course again. Do you have something you want to add to the record?
Yes, all this stuff right
Okay,
here. to the
then,
record.
take it up with staff and then start your, well, then that's done. Then that's not, we don't handle the record, the staff does. So now you can start your testimony.
But I've got to
to
show
us.
that the record is changing right before our eyes.
Well, okay, that's gonna be part of your testimony.
Yes, well, but
Okay, we'll start the clock.
all right. So I have received a letter of intent, not a real ORS 35. I've also have on my property 3205 tracts of my property. All this is added to the record and shown in the record. Whenever I ask questions, everything changes and then it gets rescinded, kind of like an audible as far as a football game. And so now everything that I have is incoherent with the file. And it's very frustrating because now when I do it to Luba, it is changed as far as the incoherency of it. All right, so. I understand that the applicant may be allotted more time. My concern is the number of minutes, but when the public has a meaningful, like I do, because this affects me in inverse eminent domain, that these materials and all this records affected. The city said there are no zoning changes. I have in the record that they won't change anything. I have factual information with the PUC where they've said it was unpermitted use, but it actually was permitted use and changed it right before our eyes. That's a part of the record. That's why I want to keep the record open 777. All right. The UGB is a comprehensive plan. It's a transportation system designation. It's a corridor mapping. It's infrastructure planning and assumptions. It affects my property, private property, even as a county resident. All right. It is subject to goal 1 involvement and goal 2 coordination. I have NEDAs that are showing up because there's no goal 2 compliance. For the record, I submit to public record request to Justin Nelson this morning for non-disclosure agreements. All the city, these 2 representatives have signed non-disclosure agreements with Amazon. I have that's going to be added to the file. They have on the record admitted that Amazon is funding this, okay? And I want that attached to the record. I respectfully submit that the administrative record regarding the county's proposal of co-adoption system plan and related comprehensive plan, as well as related adoption of recreation and heritage trail planning materials. The city of Boardman has entered into the non-disclosures with the Parks and Master Plan related other statements and given me a bill for $16,656, reflecting the volume of materials associated with those planning efforts. Despite these requests, it remains unclear from the administrative record whether the NDA's restricted coordination or confidential infrastructure planning informed the city of materials now being incorporated in the county's decision with Amazon. The proposed co-adoption appears to rely primarily on incorporated by reference of staff memorandum and city materials as findings of fact. I'm concerned that the county has not adopted independent findings demonstrating compliance with the statewide planning goals and joint management and the coordination requirement of statewide planning goal 2. The Secretary of State, December 2025, which is attached to the record, 2024 audit has not been filed as a publication date. While the audit compliance is governed separately from ORS 297, to the extent of the transportation plan and related CIP materials on financial capacity, bonding assumptions, or grant projects, I respectfully request that all that I request the administrator identify the factual basis supporting those funding associations. While the ordinance reference recorded material, the staff memo does not address property level impacts, corridor planning, reliance, coordination, TSP, PMP, EOA, heritage trail, CIP funding, and trail projects. These planning efforts appear interrelated but are being considered through separate segmented action, make it difficult to understand the full factual basis for the decision. I respectfully state that for the record that the administrative materials associated with the county's co-adoption, the city TSP, the multiple packets, draft packets, staff memorandum, conceptual planning documents, and the CIP references from the city, county, and parks and rec district. Although the
1
ordinance
minute.
indicates the board is adopting the staff memorandum and supporting materials by reference of finding of facts, the record currently reflects segmented submission rather than a coordinated administrative plan. Because of the fragmentation, I reserve the right to certify and supplement administrative record for the purpose of LUBA. I respectfully state that the prepared correction and construction of administrative record should not impose financial or procedural burden on any affected property owners or their businesses where they record fragmentation.
30 seconds.
Okay, I request the city ensure all this, the records that I have there, so that it is done correctly. Again, I asked for all the meetings for the past, from October, the May 29th documents for the city planning commission, December 2nd county planning commission, January 7th, 27th, February 28th, and the relevant board meetings discussing this. All versions and drafts of the Morrow County and transportation system planned under construction, because they've changed numerous times over times. I will email you all this of what I said, but it is not in the record and needs to be fully supplemented to the record, and I ask it be open 777. Thank you very much.
Any questions of Jonathan? Is there anyone else opponent to this that would like to give testimony?
Yes.
Come on up.
I'm Barrett Dash, BARRETT-DASH, 280 Northwest Washington Avenue, Oregon, Oregon. This is the first county planning meeting that I have attended. I've lived in Morrow County now 3 years. I relocated here from Central Oregon. I'm concerned with the trajectory of the growth in the area. That's why I'm here at this meeting. There are concerns that Jonathan stated well about differences between the overall plan and the heritage trail. I'm concerned with that trail running underneath the power line. That doesn't seem to be consistent with a healthy recreational experience if there are issues with power lines putting off EMFs and things like that. The other thing just gleaned from this meeting that is an area of concern was relative to the trajectory of the plan being a 20-year plan and the inconsistency with the growth in Portland being a 5 to 7 year plan and having to reboot and re-kick this again in 5 to 7 years when it should be a 20-year plan out of the gate. There are bigger areas of concern too, but just kind of the quick take on this is just that the trajectory of the growth should be managed appropriately, and there were a lot of takeaways from Central Oregon and the way that it grew there from 1991 to 2022 when I lived in Central Oregon. Bend basically grew from 17,000 people in the city limits, and Deschutes County was roughly 100,000 at that time, to over 100,000 people in the city limits of Bend and 250,000 people in Deschutes County. The way that the growth is going in Morrow County and Umatilla, fueled by big corporate money, is very similar to the trajectory of the growth in Central Oregon. That's a big area of concern for me. That's how Central Oregon spun out of control. I'm also interested in being part of the planning commission. And I am going to be putting in a letter of intent with the county to be on the planning commission to fill Darlene Cooley's position. And I think it's important to have some sort of a voice that's out of the area or some experience that's out of the area with a growth trajectory that is a realistic potential growth trajectory for the area. That the way that it went in Central Oregon was fueled very similarly to the Columbia Basin by outside large money interests that got in with real estate developers and local politicians to fuel the growth. Those entities, the government entities and the dollars that drove those entities basically made Central Oregon go from a small vacation town to overpopulated, highly densely populated subdivision type of area with a very, very exorbitant cost of living. So I'm concerned that we're on a trajectory for growth to get the dollars coming in and to get a lot of subdivisions built and such. But we can do better planning collectively. And I think it's important to be looking at areas like Central Oregon to make sure that Morrow County and the basin does not grow in that type of fashion. It's important to keep the quality of life around here, the cost of living down, and have cohesiveness and community involvement, and we can do better as a community. That's all. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Does anyone have any questions of
I guess I've got one. So what specifically with this plan? I mean, you talked about we don't want to end up like Central Oregon. What about this plan is not good planning? Because it seems like it's a pretty good transportation plan as presented.
Yes, the main concern for me is that the inconsistency between the 5 to 7 year plan that with Foreman and the 20-year plan with the county, and how that overlaps, and if it has to be rebooted or more funding happen in that 5 to 7 year period. And then like you were talking about earlier about coinciding with the city or not, and what that looks like, it would be good to be consistent on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room that is an opponent that wants to testify? Okay, let's see. Is there anyone on Zoom that's an opponent that would like to testify at this time? Raise your hand. See anybody? Not anybody?
You don't.
Okay, is there anyone that's neutral on this issue but just would like to give some testimony? Either in the room or on Zoom. Anyone on Zoom that's neutral, raise your hand. Wants to give neutral testimony? Okay. Is the applicant have a rebuttal?
We'll work to keep this short, and if I don't succeed, he'll hit me.
Set on the record.
So just a couple of items. The request to retain the record as open under the 777 is not applicable to a legislative hearing. That is only applicable to a quasi judicial hearing. So you had a first evidentiary hearing that was in front of your planning commission. This is your final evidentiary hearing. There's no reason to retain the record open. It's not a requirement. Just for all clarity, the TSP in its current form has been available since November, probably prior to that when we submitted to DLCD for 35-day notice. I think the only change we did is we took draft and changed the date on the front based on adoption. There are no contracts that are a part of this TSP. There is no eminent domain that is a part of this TSP or would be forthcoming because of this TSP. It is a TGM funded grant process that we worked under. with city match, both in cash and in kind. There's no other funding that has been acquired to fund the TSP. And just for clarity, the difference between my comment about 5 to 7 years and 20 years. When you do a TSP, the state says that it's a 20-year plan. They also say that you should update it when your project lists are out of date or when there are other factors that no longer are current or applicable. And given the growth that Boardman has been experiencing with a almost 25-year-old TSP, we know it's not adequate. And so if growth continues the way it has been, we know we're gonna outgrow this TSP well before the 20-year planning horizon. Just to clarify my comment about the timeline. Yeah, I think that covers the factors that are specifically related to this process or to the TSP.
Yeah. And I would reemphasize that most of the concerns aren't connected to the transportation system plan. I think that continues to be more and more evident with that, but no, the TSP, like you guys have said, it is a really good plan. It's very thought out, and there was a lot of input that went into it. And when we talk about time frame and like jumping into it, I know government is slow. And it definitely takes time. It really has been a long process of gathering information before it has been presented. So definitely thought out and time can be considered.
Any questions on the rebuttal?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Good. All right, that concludes the public testimony. Is there anyone who would like to, is there anyone who'd like to continue the hearing or hold the record open?
Yes.
Yes, just state your name and say what.
Jonathan Tolman.
And yes, okay. Okay, that concludes the public testimony, and we'll close that. And now the BOC will deliberate and ask questions of staff.
I guess my first question is, if we adopt this plan, any time that a road would be developed, it would still have to go before the planning commission if it's within the UGB and outside of city limits, correct?
Absolutely. It would all be subject to permitting.
Yeah.
So a new subdivision road or an extension of a city road.
So this is
That's right.
not the end all be all,
Correct.
at least with regards to what the county has authority over.
That's correct.
Okay.
So maybe some of this is for my benefit, maybe some of that does, I think that is we would be applying the city standard to that new road instead of the county standard. The standard that the city is identified in that area. That's correct.
That's correct. And if you had also, in addition, if you had a large development, we'd look to see if private property wanted to develop a through street, for example, we would look to the city's TSP so that we could at least try to enhance connectivity. So the whole idea is that we're coordinating with what they currently have and what they have planned, and then how that development would unfold in that urban growth area that Stephen showed on the map.
Okay, any other questions of staff or comments? Okay.
So we heard from the applicant that we don't have to do the 777, not that I don't trust Carla, but
I would agree.
in this, I need to hear it from our staff.
Yeah, I would agree,
Absolutely.
for sure. I was just gonna, if Dan was here, I'd have him confirm, but Carla's right. And I actually asked a third party person, like, we're not obligated to do that, particularly with a legislative action. And that's correct. And Chair, I would note that Commissioner Winholtz found an error in our adopting ordinance. So if you're inclined to make a decision and approve that, we have a clean version of the adopting ordinance, but your motion today would be to take action on it, and then 2 weeks from now, we'd have the second reading of the adopting ordinance. So you don't sign the adopting ordinance today.
Okay.
So I think the first question is that there's been a request. We've heard that we don't have to. So is it the pleasure of the board to hold the record open and do the 777? So we aren't prohibited from doing it. It's that we aren't mandated to do it. Is that a fair interpretation?
Actually, the 777 is a interpretation of the statute that applies to quasi judicial decisions. This is not that. This is a legislative decision. This
Yeah.
is technically your final evidentiary hearing unless you feel there's more evidence that needs to be obtained.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just have never had it with a legislative action that wasn't also quasi judicial, like a rock quarry, for example, which is really both.
Okay, now, since a request was made to hold it open, do you need a motion to close the record, or do you just,
I have this that I need to add.
excuse me, I was talking to, the testimony's over. Do you know, you said you asked for,
Is Jennifer your attorney?
Jennifer is not our attorney. Jennifer is Alex Hattenhauer's attorney.
Is your counsel on the call?
Jody is
No.
not.
Jody's not, okay. Nor is Justin. I think it's always better to err on the side of making your decision about leaving the record open formally.
right, we'll do
So-
that first.
Do that first, and then you can close the hearing and then take action.
Okay,
Given that we don't have legal counsel, I'm leaning towards let's keep the record open
They're on the side of.
or on the side of caution. I think that would be safer for our
okay,
part.
let's make a motion just to get it on the
Yeah.
record, instead of a consensus.
I move to keep the record open. With 777 as requested.
Okay, is there a second? Move in second, any further discussion, all in favor? Aye, all opposed, motion carried.
You can still make a decision even though you've kept the record open.
They did 777, so it goes beyond your reading, your second reading.
It does, so we'll just have to reschedule the second hearing.
What would the purpose be of making a decision before the record's closed?
Well, the other thing you can do is now that you voted to keep the record open, is to continue this hearing for 21 days, which means we'd probably continue it to our second meeting in March. Is that 18th?
Yeah, it's the same.
So you'd continue the hearing and then you'd consider, we'd present to you the record. And then you can take action, and then 14 days after that, you would have the second reading of the ordinance.
Okay. Okay, so that's the end of our business on that.
So if you would like to make a formal motion to continue the hearing to, and since you're keeping the record open, then we don't have to re-advertise. So if you continue this hearing to March 18th,
The second motion,
a second motion, please.
I move to continue this hearing at March 18th.
1:30, does that work with the board's calendar, Valerie and Matt? 1:30 here.
I don't see any issue with it.
Here in Oregon, so we don't have to, any party who's present will know, then we don't have to circulate another legal notice. Yeah.
okay. Second,
Well, I think that the motion needs to reflect time and place.
Does, yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I'll amend that. I move to continue the hearing on March 18th at 1:30 PM in Oregon Government Center.
Second.
move to second, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Sorry. Also, I forgot one thing, Valerie, can you take a roll call on the last two votes, just for the record? Let's go with number one first, the first one.
Yes.
We'll keep in the record.
So, let's see. Give me a second.
Let's call our names out.
Okay, so Commissioner Peterson motion to keep the record open for 777 as requested. Commissioner Holt seconded, vote in favor. Peterson,
Aye.
Sykes. Holtz.
Yes.
Okay, now we'll take the second one.
Okay, Commissioner Peterson motion to continue the hearing on March 18th, 1:30 PM in Oregon at the Government Center. Commissioner Holt seconded for the vote. Peterson,
Aye.
sites. Anyone else?
Okay, that concludes hearing number one. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now we will move on to. I'm gonna call a short recess, 5 minutes. Sure. Okay, I'm gonna call this hearing of the Morrow County Commission.
Not a problem.
Open
Thanks.
to order. And I'll read the opening statement first, and then we'll go from there. Comprehensive plan amendment to update chapter 9 recreation element and adopt the 2026 Morrow County Columbia River Heritage Trail Concept Plan AC 163-26. Morrow County is the applicant. Criteria for approval include Morrow County zoning ordinance, MC ZO Article 8 amendments. Persons who wish to provide testimony may do so orally or in writing. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable criteria. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Please sign the sheet in the back of the room or make a note in chat if you are participating via Zoom. If you would like to present testimony, please speak only when identified. If you would like to present testimony, sorry, please speak only when identified by the chair and begin by giving your name, the spelling of your name, and your address. If you have exhibits for consideration, please provide a copy to the staff. If you would like to request that the board hold open the record or continue the hearing, you must make that request before the public portion of the hearing is closed. This concludes the introduction, and we will start with, we'll ask commissioners, do either of you have a wish to abstain, declare conflict of interest or bias, or have any ex parte contact?
No.
I don't have any member of the audience you wish to request that a member of the commission abstain or declare conflict of interest or bias or disclose an ex parte contact with a member of the commission?
Yes, same issue noted in the record from last hearing as well too.
That was Jonathan. Okay, and then we'll start with our staff report. Tamara.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Tamara Mabott, the planning director. And before you today is an update of Goal 8, one of the shorter chapters. It's the recreation, it's chapter 9, Goal 8, the recreation element in our comprehensive plan. It was updated not too many years ago, but since we are updating that and adopting the Heritage Trail Concept Plan by reference, we just went ahead and updated so it's got current information. And we had the benefit of Ramey Kane from Parks Department gave us a bunch of updated statistics that they're tracking relative to recreation and recreation type of activities. This Goal 8 update and adopting the Heritage Trail Concept Plan as an appendix was unanimously approved by the Planning Commission and recommended that the board approve it at their meeting. We had multiple outreach events. This was the grant effort, the planning effort. We hired JUB Engineering. County had maybe a 1 to 2 match to have JUB Engineering work with us on it. We have the benefit of Elizabeth Smith, who is one of the planners with JUB Engineering. She's on Zoom if you have any questions. My role today is to just mention that we are doing some updates to Goal 8. And then Clint's gonna talk you through the changes to the Heritage Trail Plan, which is 20-ish years old. We had 2 work sessions with the Planning Commission on the Heritage Trail. We changed it, the routing and concepts, et cetera, throughout the pre-planning process. And that's really all I have to say, and I would like to turn it over to Clint.
Okay. Anybody got any questions of staff?
Not yet.
And then Steven's gonna pull up the routes.
We have more testimony. Stephen gonna testify?
Steven is gonna share sections of the trail and Clint's gonna do. Yep.
So for the record, Clint Shoemake, planning staff. And yeah, Tamara kind of touched on a little bit of the background, just for a little context here. So the Heritage Trail Plan, this is an update to an existing plan. The Heritage Trail Plan was published back in 2000. So going on 26 years now. About a year and a half ago, give or take, just prior to me coming on board, there was a grant to in part fund the update. Basically, that concept plan had sat for a long time with pretty minimal movement on any actual improvements. So really the purpose of this was to take a look at identifying amenities, checking our alignment, looking for opportunities for connecting the county line. The original vision is to connect Gillum County to Umatilla County with a contiguous trail. So that part of that was looking at ways to do that. And then as we were able to look at amenities and come up with our plan, then we can in turn start seeking funding, looking at how to implement this stuff. So as Tamara stated, there was a lot of public input. There were pre-meetings, there was a technical advisory committee. There was an online survey. We did multiple open house events, well attended, well responded, got a good idea of the requested amenities. So what I want to share briefly here is what Stephen has up is an overview map of the trail. A little harder to see at that level. Everything that is in color is an existing trail. The colors just correspond to the different sections, which give or take correspond with underlying landowners to a certain extent. Anything that is in color has been there since 2000. That trail has been in place. Short of a little bit of minor alignment, like in the Boardman Marina, they've added, small little sections to where they've put trail, but that trail has not changed. You'll also see in the dotted black, those are areas particularly west of Boardman where that connection to the county does not exist today. There is no trail out there. We envision eventually doing that, and those are a couple of paths that potentially we might be able to utilize. At this point, that is not something that is being proposed or pursued right now. It is documented. The term conceptual gets used a lot. This is very much conceptual. That is an appropriate use of the term. That is a potential path for future trail. Stephen, if you can go through the other sections, we'll go through each section briefly. I don't want to take too much of your time here. Starting from the west, you have the Gillum County line to essentially Tower Road and Loves, which is sort of on the right there. That area along the north side of the freeway is essentially a checkerboard of ownership between the Port of Morrow and 3 Mile Canyon. We did discuss with them this concept. They were very much on board. They said they support the concept. They can't agree at this point to an exact alignment until they determine what they want to do with developing those properties, which is fine because we are not proposing an exact physical alignment yet. We're proposing a conceptual alignment through there, but they are on board with the concept. Moving east into Boardman, there are a couple different paths we could take. If you notice kind of the bottom right of Boardman, it goes, right now it identifies Wilson Lane kind of being the path. Again, that this reflects the trail that's been in existence. One option would be to continue the trail down Wilson, kind of corners around to Coonsey and comes out at Tower Road. That is an option. Another option that kind of came into the picture later in the game was potentially using the BPA easement. I believe that a path is an allowed use, at least under the BPA, I believe. So that's a conversation that the city of Boardman is having. They started that conversation and are looking at the feasibility of that. If that's feasible, we may think about pursuing it. We would take the appropriate steps. There would be further coordination before we did anything. If we determine that that's not feasible, we just won't do that. Otherwise, Boardman, pretty straightforward, moving east through the Port of Morrow. There have been some significant facility upgrades through the Port of Morrow, sidewalks, overpass improvements over the railroad tracks, things like that. Really quick, Stephen, will you jump to the vicinity map? Not to throw anybody, sorry, the Tallman vicinity map, please.
Yeah.
For clarification, at the bottom of that Port of Morrow, which is represented with the pink there, just to be very explicitly clear on this, the Heritage Trail is approximately a quarter mile north of Mr. Tolman's property. And this is not anything new we were proposing. This is an existing alignment utilizing existing infrastructure that has been there. We also discussed potentially utilizing the BPA easement to the west, heading out towards Tower Road. There is no intent at this point, nor is it proposed in the plan or any alignment to utilize the BPA easement to the east that you'll see at the bottom of his property. That is not in the scope of the Heritage Trail, nor has it been. So if we can jump back, Stephen, continuing through the Port of Morrow east through the Umatilla National Wildlife Area, you got your old abandoned highway out there, and that trail has gone through there for some time. Basically goes up Patterson Ferry to the fish hatchery. You'll notice there is another kind of dotted black and white line heading into Boardman along Columbia, or excuse me, headed into Oregon. That is another potential alignment that would line up well with the existing bike ped facility that exists right out here up front. So we view that as a good potential connection. Again, potential at this point. Also an opportunity to head up, I believe that's 8th Street, kind of make a loop there. So that's just another potential path. Heading through here again, you've got basically primitive trails all the way along the river into the Oregon Marina, where there's some paved trails, and then we did acknowledge the improved facilities right there, downtown Oregon, right in front of us. And then as you head through the Oregon Marina and east, you continue out a primitive trail that is currently identified as the Heritage Trail out to the Umatilla County line. So that covers, again, this is an update to an existing plan. All the colors you saw on those maps are existing trails that have been formally recognized as the Heritage Trail for decades. And we have identified some potential paths to improve connections. And the main purpose of this plan was to identify amenities, safety improvements, identify what the public and what users want, so that we as a county can try to prioritize, try to seek funding, and try and figure out how and when to implement these. But I think that covers everything I wanted to cover. Are there any questions?
Questions?
Nope. Thank you. That was very well done.
Any other staff want to speak?
I would just say, didn't Clint do a nice job? He really does. It's great. And he didn't pick it up from the beginning. He, but took very much a lead role on it when he started, not even 2 years ago. So I appreciate that very much. Again, I just wanted to underscore the collaboration we've had with Vince Guerrero and the park staff. Unlike previous planning efforts, the implementation piece we'll hand over, not walk away from it completely, but we've had a couple of internal meetings with them about, what parts that they would look at and what parts to prioritize. And Vince has already had some discussion, as has Clint, with those federal landowners to see what sort of things could be done based on the history. They still would prefer to see more primitive, unimproved trail, at least along the Army Corps, but that's not set in stone for the entire stretch. It is from Oregon to the east, because that portion of that Army Corps land is managed by Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. So their strong desire is to maintain it as a wildlife area, but there's paths, and we have marker bollards out there as well.
I'll note, if you don't mind, speaking specifically on that area east of the wildlife refuge, Fish and Wildlife have been supported and have been out there helping clear paths. Our the county maintenance team has gone out there and replaced some signage, some of the interpretive panels that were all worn out. Fish and Wildlife have been supportive. They've helped us out. They've also volunteered to take some of the signage, some of the markers, and help better identify the trail for us. So that's just one of many examples of these external affected stakeholders that are interested in supporting it.
Okay. Good stuff. I mean, concludes that. Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, then we'll jump into the proponents. Is there any proponents in the audience or on Zoom that would like to speak in favor of this? Please raise your hand. Okay. Do I see anybody? No. Okay, now we'll have the opponents. Is there any opponents in the room that would like to testify against this?
I do.
Okay, and same rules apply. Just give your name, tell your address, and you have a 5-minute time.
Jonathan Tallman, JONATHAN, Allman, TALMAN. First of all, I will be emailing this over to Tim. This is a statewide planning goal recreation. And this is how it goes. It goes from the Morrow County level, county comprehensive plan element, heritage trail concept, that's policy direction. Then it goes to the Morrow County capital improvement plan, the CIP, which I've added to the record in there as well too. And that's capital funding. Once it's funded, it is no longer conceptual, it is factual. The city district level, the city boardman parks master plan, which you guys are basically approving with the heritage trail expansion, park and rec, growth strategy, recreation policy, that's coordination planning. And the boardman park and rec district, which got approved on the 27th, and then will be your guys' decision as well too, which will, in a sense, be the heritage construction park and trail. So the city, I will be added to the record as well too, has already funded the BPA trail. There's a spot that I've taken pictures of. It's already added to the record. It's a segmentation, a fragmentation of the little piece. And because of that I just showed you, this shows you the whole trail. So when you say this has nothing to do with the heritage trail, this is conceptual, not factual. So if it's a conceptual, not factual, then this isn't part of the record. When it actually it is, and I just showed you the fragmentation of how it all gets funded and how it all gets placed. All right, on the 1028 date, okay, when I asked questions, okay, this was part of the record. This is a little spot conceptually on my property. Conceptual, not factual. So it's conceptually, we can't determine, okay? It's on the BPA quarter. It's a part of the record already. Then this is the city parks master plan and the park and recs master plan right here. It says, and it's figure 9-2 city projects, land acquisition and development project. So it's conceptually that they've already put in there that they're going to land development. I haven't got an offer. I do have a letter of intent, okay, but that's not an offer. I do have a right of way that shows my tracks. I do have a $30,000 offer from 4 years ago. That's all a part of the record. I'm just showing you this is already inverse eminent domain, the project of what we're doing. All that I ask that you do is do things right. ORS 35, have the city, have you guys follow the rules and the laws instead of going through this whole process where I have to show my cause so it doesn't get taken like it did 7 years ago. Again, this is 9-2. So this is the big one right here. Okay. All the city, 6 of the 7 city officials, and then the 2 people didn't even respond about this, the non-disclosures. They've signed non-disclosures with Amazon. There's also a part of the record for the city parks master plan on April 15th at the 0151 mark where Amazon is developing potentially the whole thing. Okay. And this is where the conflicts come in, because if someone signed a non-disclosure, they no longer represent the people. All right. The landowners, they represent the entities that they serve. I've asked for that record. I've asked it to be attached to this record as well too. I'm asking for documentation. I'm asking for full transparency. I see this vote is you guys don't want transparency. You guys want to do the same old stuff, okay? And all I ask is that we are transparent about how this really works so that everybody, I want the county to succeed. I want boardmen to succeed. I want this whole area to succeed. It doesn't succeed when we just gloss over and assign non-disclosures or have fiduciary responsibilities to other people besides our constituents that we are elected to represent. I don't feel like that's too much to ask for people. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Well, before you, is there any questions of Jonathan on this one?
Do you want those entered
I'm
into the
gonna,
record?
should I, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm really particular because I've seen things change right before my eyes and I know it sounds like a ghost story, but I've seen it happen. And so I'm going to make sure that everything is time stamped in. Okay, this was done just because of what's happened. And I'm sorry, Tamara, I've seen it happen and it's very frustrating because of what's happened. Okay, thank you.
So as of now, if the record's not kept open, we don't have any exhibits to enter into the record right now.
Well, I'd like the record to be open to show all this stuff, because I have tried to add all this stuff to the record and it gets lost and shuffled.
Okay, is there anyone on Zoom that is a opponent of this? Raise your hand.
Not seeing any raised hands.
Okay. Is there anyone that's in the room that's neutral? I don't think so. Anyone on Zoom that is neutral on this and just wants to make a comment? Okay. I don't see any. You're the county's the applicant. Any rebuttal you want to give? You guys.
I will share one thing that I kind of failed to mention. It's important to distinguish the fact that there is an overlap between the Boardman Parks Master Plan and the Heritage Trail. That overlap is clearly defined in the Heritage Trail scope. You saw the alignment, you saw the maps. The city of Boardman obviously is, developing sidewalks and city parks, and not every, pedestrian facility that's built through the city of Boardman has anything to do necessarily with the Heritage Trail. So I will remind you that what is shown, the scope and alignment of the Heritage Trail is limited to what is reflected in this plan and on those maps.
Any other rebuttal? Okay, I will go on to, does anyone like to continue the hearing or hold the record open?
Yes.
That's Jonathan. Jonathan said yes. Jonathan Tolman. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Then we'll close the public hearing, the BOC to deliberate and ask questions of staff. So, go ahead. You have some questions of staff?
Just clarification, I'm sure. I understand what you said, but if I put up my own words that I know that I understand it. The only overlap between the Boardman Parks Master Planning that's been referenced is how it relates to the Heritage Trail where it goes through the city of Boardman.
Main Street.
We aren't adopting any other part of the Boardman
No.
Parks Master Plan.
That is correct, and that's the distinguish, I'd like to definitely call out. The Heritage Trail alignment is limited to what is shown. Yes, it does go through the city of Boardman, but the scope is limited to what is reflected in our plan.
And whatever else that they are planning and
Whatever the city
plan
board-
has no effect on this action.
Yes,
right?
nor do I want to even speak to that because
It's
that's
not our
jurisdiction, correct?
Gotcha. That's what I assumed, but again, I was with the plan.
No more questions, staff? Okay, so we'll call for the motion.
So how does this work? Do we, I know sometimes a request to hold open the record is automatic, and other times it has to be approved.
So you would need to take action on that. It's not the first
Just like
question.
us.
It's not the first evidentiary hearing.
So the first motion would be if you want to hold the record.
That's what we have to decide.
I think we should be consistent with what we just did. That's what I think. So,
With the lack of counsel here.
so I move to hold the record open until March 18th at 1:30 PM at the Oregon Government Center.
Second.
Then moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Valerie, could you take the roll call on this one too?
So I guess the problem that after I seconded it and I was thinking of your motion, because the motion was to hold the record open until that time, right?
Mhm.
I think that the motion should have more accurately reflected like the 777 rule. And then that would have been one motion, and then to continue the hearing until March 18th. Sorry.
Yes. So 7 days from today, anyone can add additional information.
And
And then the second 7 days, people can respond to that information, and then the final 7 days is where the county is the applicant, we can analyze those things.
Yeah, Bill got some out to you as the default parliamentarian, so it's the correct procedure here.
I think if we just make that second motion, it actually should be fine. I think. So,
You said keep the record open till March 18th, but
so I want to continue the hearing.
continue the hearing to March 18th.
Yes. I move to,
So do we need to fix
we
the,
need to fix the previous one.
so.
Would you like to make a motion to rescind your previous?
I
motion?
move to rescind my previous motion.
A second.
Moved and second to rescind the previous motion, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed, motion carried.
Okay.
Before we move on, Valerie, could you once again, just to make sure we get up the record straight, do a roll call on those two motions?
Okay, well, so initially Commissioner Peterson motioned to hold the record open until March 18th at 1:30 PM at the Oregon Government Center, and Commissioner Winholt seconded. And then before we got to the vote, that was discussion unfolded. And now we're at Commissioner Peterson motion to rescind the previous motion, and Commissioner Winholt seconded. And then for roll call, Peterson?
Aye.
Sykes? And Winholtz.
The first one was voted on.
What?
it was,
Oh,
it was all ayes.
So
but
let the
we can do
record
it.
reflect that all three of us
Mhm,
voted aye,
mhm. To rescind the motion
and the previous motion.
and the previous motion. Okay. Okay, so now we're ready for a motion.
Sorry.
Okay, now we're ready.
Okay.
So. I move to hold open the record according to 777.
Mhm.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed, motion carried. Could you
all right.
do that one?
Yep, Commissioner Peterson motion to hold open the record according to 777. Commissioner Winholt seconded, for roll call, Peterson,
Aye.
Sykes,
Aye.
and Winholtz.
Okay, that's done. I guess we're concluded. with-
Nope,
And then-
not yet.
Motion,
Right.
Yep.
I move to continue the hearing
The
to
biggie.
March 18th, 1:30 PM. In the Oregon Government Center.
Second.
We moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Opposed, motion carried. Valerie?
Peterson,
Aye.
Sykes,
Aye.
Winholtz.
Aye.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Sure?
No,
You did sure?
no, you're on the 18th.
You on the 18th?
On this matter.
Close yourself the hearings. Thank you all.